Please welcome to the Imus Morning Program, Georgette Jones. Her new book's called The Three of Us, Growing Up with Tammy and George. Good morning, Miss Jones.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Fine, baby. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
I was looking at your 5 favorite songs. I don't see any of your dad's on here.
No, I'm actually a big fan of my dad's. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but as far as top 5, I'd put a couple of his in the top 10, but only one of my mom's even made the top 5. I know that sounds bad, but being honest about the music that I love, the one song of my mom's is Till I Can Make It on My Own.
That's a good record, yeah. So.
Well, thank you.
Well, man, this story reads like, your worst kind of reality show. So what's your first memory of your parents?
Well, I remember a lot of being backstage. The Opry was kind of like our other home. We stayed there an awful lot, and a lot of people ask me what that was like, and I guess, for me, going to the Opry was kind of like going to the office with somebody else who was a businessman or a secretary. So that was just normal for us. And but looking back on it now, I mean, it's wonderful memories that I'm glad that I have.
How old were you when they got divorced?
Only 4. I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay. So then what kind of relationship did you have with them after that?
Well, I really didn't have much of a relationship at all with my dad. After the divorce, we saw each other probably 2 or 3 times a year for many years. And I think really he tried to shelter me from his lifestyle and a lot of what he was going through at that time. And as I became a teenager, I guess I got a little bit more rebellious myself and angry that we didn't have a relationship, and that made things worse. So it wasn't until my mom passed away, and he was there for me when I needed him the very most, and we started mending our relationship, and now we have a very good one.
Did he or your mother ever talk to you about other country singers they liked or disliked? Or?
Yeah, I mean, really, they never had anything negative to say about anyone. I don't remember anything really that stands out negative, but they had some great friends. My dad was very close to Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings, and my mom, of course, was very good friends with Loretta Lynn and Dolly and Barbara Mandrell. So there are lots of people that I remember in my childhood very fondly, good memories of them sitting around the dinner table eating with us. And so they had a lot of really good friends. They were a close-knit country family back then.
Who does your dad think is great?
Who does he think was great?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, Johnny Cash really was his closest friend probably for a long time. They had a wonderful relationship. In fact, my dad's favorite picture that he has in his house that he has framed is a picture that he had taken just a few days before Johnny passed away with them together at his home. And so he has very good memories of Johnny.
You're talking with Georgette Jones. Her new book is called The Three of Us, Growing Up with Tammy and George. Georgette, of course, is a country singer herself. My brother does outlaw country on Sirius Satellite Radio. He likes you. He said, but she's too country for country.
Well, that's the truth. Hate to say that today, but unless you're pop with a banjo on it, it's not country anymore. So,
yeah.
But I just love to sing what I do, and it may not be on all the big country radio stations right now, but I'm getting to enjoy my dream and have fun with that anyway, and make the music that I want to. So,
gotta be pretty brave to be the daughter of those two people and want to go sing yourself, So.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I didn't do it for a long time for that reason. I was actually a full-time registered nurse for 17 years before I decided to take the plunge. But I've always loved music. I've always written music, and I didn't want to look back one day and wonder what if. So a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to go to Ireland and tour, and I did that. And while I was there, I met the head of Heart of Texas Records, and he offered me a record deal with the label there in Texas. So that's why he knows about me at Outlaw Country. We have a lot of the Texas music is played there.
A Slightly Used Woman, where's that title come from?
My mom actually wrote that song in the early 1980s, and it's a description of the house that I grew up in Franklin Road in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was a song that, unfortunately, I guess, as I got older, I related to an awful lot, and I always wanted to record it. So I was lucky enough that Tracy at the label loved the song as much as I did and let me use that as the title track to my first CD.
Back to your dad for a second. One time I was talking with Harry Connick Jr., who was a child prodigy and is a genius, I think.
Oh, well, he is, absolutely.
Yeah. And he said, we were talking about your dad, and I'm just talking about singers. He said, if you put 10 people on a stage and had them all sing the same verse to a song, everybody would pick George Jones. And I said, you mean Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles? People like that. He says, yeah.
You know, my dad feels the same way about Harry. He loves his music, and he actually had him on a couple of projects with him, and he really is a nice guy, and we love his music an awful lot. I've not actually been able to meet him. The one project my dad did with him, he had to pre-tape, but I love him. I'm a big fan.
But that's saying a lot about. I mean, Ray Charles is pretty good. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Sinatra, but the dude could sing, you know. So.
Absolutely.
That's saying a lot about George Jones. So.
Definitely.
One time I was talking to your dad. He wrote a book one time. I forget what it was called.
I Live to Tell It All.
Yeah. And he wrote in there about running into Porter Wagner in the restroom at the Grand Ole Opry.
Yes.
And are you familiar with the story? Or?
Actually, I'm not. To be honest with you, I only read part of my dad's book. I didn't even read all of my mom's book on purpose because there's lots of things in there that upset me one way or the other. You know, when people get a divorce, you know, them being my parents, I really didn't want to know all the gory details. So I just kind of separated myself from as much as I could, just to be honest about it.
Yeah, this is probably, I'm sitting there thinking about it, and there's no, as long as you don't know about it, there's no reason to tell me about it. So, but it was just, I did say to George, I said, I don't believe I'd have told that. And he said, well, it happened. So I said,
well, he's brutally honest about everything, which is, and I think that's a great thing.
He was mad at Porter about something. I think whether Porter was hitting on Tammy or somebody. So, anyway. Well, how's he doing now, George?
He's doing great. He'll be 80
Stopped
in September.
drinking and all that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did 12 years ago. He quit drinking and smoking all at the same time, and he's very healthy. He's doing really well, and he's very active and busy. He still tours about 60 to 70 dates a year, and he really is doing quite well.
How's he feel about your book?
He's actually happy about it. You know, I'm sure he was probably at first not really sure, you know, what to think, what I was going to write. But I promised him that I'd give him a copy first before we did anything else with it. And he and Nancy, my stepmom, got the book when we first got the first copy, and they read it and called me and told me that they really liked it and that they were really happy about it. So
she's been good for him, hasn't she, Nancy?
She's been excellent for him. I mean, I can't imagine him trying to live without her. She's absolutely a saint. She loves him.
Well, you seem like you're okay now, so.
Yeah, I think I'm in a good place. You know, I'm happier than I've ever been, and you know, doing what I love to do. So I couldn't be happier.
Weathered the storm, and
absolutely, I made it through all the hard stuff. So
yeah, so.
I'm happy.
And you feel good about the book?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And the main reason why I wanted to write it, I never in a million years thought I'd write a book. But to be honest, I read a book about a year and a half ago that was written about my mom, and the first 90 pages I made it through until I had to put it aside because it just was painting a picture of my mom that was not the woman that I knew. And that's really kind of what started the whole process. I wanted people to know both my mom and my dad the way I knew them, not just them as artists and what the media had said about them in the past. And so that's really where I am now. I'm glad that we finished it. It was a fun project to do. It was difficult at times, but I was very honest in the book, and hopefully people will enjoy it.
Well, get all this stuff off your chest and go on and live your own life. You know?
Exactly.
So, well, two of the great figures in the history of country music, and getting a real story from you, so I can't imagine that it won't be an enormous success. I hope it is for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much for coming in on the program. And Fred Imus, he'll be playing your songs on Outlaw Country. You can count on that.
Please thank him for me.
Anyway, thank you very much, Georgette.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Coming up, Rob and Tony will pretend to be people, and I don't know who they're going to pretend to be. So Charles Rangel was supposed to be on this morning, but apparently he had to meet somebody in a parking garage to get another bag of money.
Stop.
It's just a little joke.
Yeah, come on.
So he couldn't get it.
Make sure it's all 20.
Imus in the morning.